A question I get quite often from clients is, I'm about 5 years away from retirement. What steps should I start doing today to set me up better for my future retirement that's coming in only a few years? And that's a great question. There are steps that people should start taking well before they ever get to that actual date of retirement to make sure that they're sitting on the right path and that they're ready for that big day. And so today I want to talk about 4 things. And the first one is, about 5 years before retirement, you need to start looking at your investments and realizing that there's some changes that you probably need to make. The way that you invested in your 20s, 30s, and 40s shouldn't be how you're investing when you're only a few years away from retirement. And so there needs to start being a shift away from being solely invested in the stock market and being very aggressive to start being a little bit more conservative with some returns that are a little bit more consistent. The last thing we want is for the market to drop the year before you're ready to retire and for it to impact your retirement plans and for you to have to delay your retirement by a couple of years just because the stock market crashed at the wrong time. You can hedge against those things by making sure that your allocation's correct, and you want to start doing that years before you get to retirement. That 5 to 7 year time span is really the right time to start changing that allocation and making sure that you're invested correctly for the future. Number 2 is I would start tracking your expenses and the money that you're spending today. There are many times when people are ready to retire and we ask them the question, well, how much do you want to spend in retirement? And the response we get back is a blank look and a response of, I don't know. And one of the most helpful things you can do is to start looking at the expenses and the money that you are spending today and looking at what you want to carry forward to retirement. That helps us set a retirement budget, that helps us do retirement income planning, and that helps us even with decisions like when do we take Social Security and how much do you need inside your 401k and what is your tax picture going to look like in retirement. The third thing that we encourage people to do is to start looking at healthcare options. You don't need to pick one now. The healthcare industry changes every year, so you don't need to delve too much into the details. But especially if you're retiring before age 65, it's going to be helpful to start educating yourself on some of the options that are out there. If you're retiring before age 65, you may have to go on the marketplace health insurance, and you may have to get private health insurance where you could potentially qualify for some subsidies, and if you don't, the cost could be rather high. That's not a reason to not retire before age 65, but it is certainly something to plan for and to make sure that your financial planner knows about and is integrating inside your plan. Retiring before 65 can have a huge impact on healthcare spending, and so making sure you educate yourself about those choices and the different ways to keep those costs low will be key when making your final retirement plan. And fourth, you should start looking at taxes and planning for taxes inside retirement. That may seem crazy because retirement may still be 5 years away. How do we plan for taxes in retirement when it's so far away? But the reality is you can start doing things now to better position yourself for retirement and the tax burden that you may face then. When you get into retirement, you have more control over your taxes than you ever did during your working years. And so today you could even start preparing on, are you saving in your traditional 401k, where it's pre-tax, but when you pull money out in retirement, you have to pay taxes on it? Or should you be saving inside a Roth 401k or Roth IRA, where you pay the taxes now, but then in retirement, you don't have to pay anything on taxes? Making sure that you're correctly allocated between what we would call pre-tax traditional retirement buckets, like an IRA or 401k, post-tax retirement buckets, like a Roth 401k or Roth IRA, and then investments that may not specifically have a retirement focus, but that are still investment or saving assets. Making sure you have the right mix of those assets to go into retirement can have a huge impact on the taxes and can save you thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars in taxes every year inside retirement. And those are changes that you can start making today and tweaks that you can start making today to better position you when you're ready to actually go forward into retirement. And so just as a quick review, the 4 things that we would start doing if you're about 5 years away from retirement are: number 1, start looking at your investments and looking at making sure that you're reducing the risk and being a little bit more conservative. Number 2, start looking at your expenses to track so you can set a more accurate budget. Number 3, start looking at health insurance expenses and making sure that you plan for those accordingly. And then number 4, making sure that you're adequately prepared for retirement taxes and that you're doing the tax planning now to make sure that you're set up well for the future. If you're in the stage of life where you're a few years away from retirement and you want to talk to a financial planner who knows how to bring all those things together, we'd love to chat with you about what this means for you personally. And so please feel free to reach out to me or my team. We'd love to sit down and talk about what retirement means to you and how best to put you on the straight path.